What is the message of this Maimer in terms of us learning from the way Yankov Avinu served Hashem? What is the message from this Maimer in terms of learning from the way Yankov Avinu served Hashem? What's the answer? I can't hear.
We should do it in a small way.
That even though we have to fight with the Yetzer Hara, this should be part of our avodah, which is peaceful. This should be part of our avodah, which we accomplish by learning Chassidus and experiencing light. That's the answer. Yankov Avinu lived in a peaceful world. We don't. We have Yetzer Haras. So in order for us to succeed at avodas Hashem, we have to struggle. But there's a part of our lives that we take from Yankov Avinu that in addition to the struggle, there's actually an open window in this room, huh? It's like a nest, right? A window that they haven't slammed shut. Okay. That we should have peace in our lives. And it's through learning Chassidus. That's the answer. Okay? $70. In what way are we the same as Yankov Avinu, and at the same time, we're only ourselves?
But we're still ourselves as by God's.
To fight with the Yetzer Hara. We have to fight with the Yetzer Hara. We have to live our lives as we are. Deal with the Riyah. Chavra, if you're going to talk, I won't, okay? It's simple, not complicated. We have to do our thing. And doing our thing means living our life realistically. The biggest mistake a human being can make in his life is, anybody know? What's the right answer today? Lie to yourself. The worst thing a person can do is be dishonest with himself, because they'll destroy yourself. To make believe you're something that you're not, it doesn't work. You have to be yourself. And being yourself means knowing your limitations. Taking on the challenges of your life. I mean, a lot of people will tell you that what's special about the Tanya is how much the Tanya explains the pace of the Yetzer Hara and the Nefesh HaBahamis in your life. The Tanya doesn't talk about holiness. Tanya talks about the fight. Now you walk away from Tanya thinking like you're a bad person because you're not winning the fight 100%. But the Tanya is not about winning, it's about the fight with the Yetzer Hara. That's being an honest person. Yankov Avinu didn't have that. But every person, in a small way, engages in the Yankov Avinu avodah a little bit. Okay, this is the answer to question 70. I hope that wasn't too many words. Okay, ready to go on? Next one, 71? Yes? I repeat the Rambam that I quoted, the Rebbe's question on it, and the Rebbe's answer. The Rambam's quote is that a person should not learn Kabbalah, should not learn what the Rambam calls Ma'aseh Merkava, Ma'aseh Bereishis, the secrets of the divine chariot and the secrets of creation, until they've mastered first Lechem Ubasa. The Rambam calls it bread and meat. Bread and meat means nigla. The Rambam says that a person should not be metayel b'pardes. They shouldn't stroll around the garden of secrets of Torah until he's mastered nigla. That's what Rambam writes, right? What's the Rebbe's question? Anybody remember? If the Rambam says you shouldn't be metal b'pardes, you shouldn't stroll around the garden of the secrets of Torah until you master nigla, why does the Rambam put it in the beginning? The first 4 chapters of Hilchas Yisrael are, in the Rambam's own words, Ma'aseh Merkava and Ma'aseh Bereishis. The first 2 chapters are called Ma'aseh Merkava, the secret of the divine chariot, and the 2 chapters after that are called Ma'aseh Bereishis, the secrets of creation. So the Rebbe answered the question. What's the Rebbe's answer?
So you have to start off with the drop of it in order to, and then that means everything else you have
to be metayel b'pardes, to stroll around the garden, to wander the garden like a person who's comfortable, you shouldn't do until you mastered nigla. But tipa min hayam, which means a drop in the ocean, and mar midli, which means a drop in a bucket, not only you have to learn that, you have to learn that first. So the first 2 chapters, which are the secrets of the divine chariot that Rambam says he's giving us a drop in the ocean. The second 2 chapters, which the Rambam calls Ma'aseh Bereishis, the secrets of creation, he says, I'm giving you a drop in a bucket. And as you understand yourself, there are far fewer drops in a bucket than there are in the ocean, but there's still a lot of drops. So you start off your learning to get a foundation of Pnimius HaTorah. And then you live your life. And to be metayel b'pad is to explore thoroughly Pnimius HaTorah. You cannot do that until you master Nigla T'Teira Lechem Abasa. But the beginning has to be, you have to taste Pnimius HaTorah, which is exactly what the Rebbe is saying here. We should imitate Yaakov Avinu a little bit. A little bit. Okay, shall we? Everybody wrote the answers on their page, or they're waiting for the monkey to continue talking? You're supposed to write the answers on your sheet. In yeshiva, I collect the pages to see how many words you wrote. Okay, 72. Which words in this text conform and seem to agree with what was said in the Rambam and the Sikh? Where in this Maimer do you see the text, the language, speak to this idea? I'm sorry? Okay, let's read the whole line. Second line on page Kuf Tzadik Vav, last page of the Maimer. You need a copy? Yediya, who needs a copy? Come and get it. Second line. Yediyas ha'inyonim ha'yeshoidiyim de pnimiyas ha'toira ba'oifen shalanacha pshuta shalamayla me'avono. So the chliyas oid leflei ha'lim b'digad. See that? You need a copy? Yediyas ha'inyonim ha'yeshoidiyim, knowing the foundational ideas of pnimiyas ha'toira, of Chassidus, of Kabbalah. Ba'oifen shalanacha, in a way that you just know it as an idea that you accept. Shalamayla me'avona, you don't understand it. So the chliyas oid leflei limud b'digad has come first. So the Rebbe in this Maimer says exactly what he said in his Sikha, which is, I heard the Rebbe say the Sikha, and I chleb with them. But it's in the Likutei Sichas Chelik Chava Pashas Yisrei, where he explains you start with Nister or you finish with Nister. The answer a little bit comes first and the rest of it comes later. Okay, question number 73. Are we all good, people? Are we good? You have a copy of the Maimer? The whole second line and the first half of the third line of page Kuf Tzadik Vav. You can copy it yourself. Knowing the foundational ideas of Chassidus on a level where you're only accepting them and you don't fully understand it, has to be even before you learn Nigla T'Teira. We good? We better be, yes? With this heat, we can all fall asleep.
When the Rebbe said that Sikha on the Rambam, did he say anywhere that you should still learn even if you haven't finished Nigla? Because I feel like that Sikha could have made a lot of people, if you learn that Sikha, it sounds like, okay, well...
Were you here on Tuesday?
I was.
But you weren't paying attention.
No, I wasn't. I heard what you said in this number. I said in the Sikha, does the Rebbe mention that aspect? In the Maimer, I remember that the Rebbe said how if you have a little bit, then a lot is even better. In the Sikha, does the Rebbe give any indication that that could be the case, or does he just say it the other way? So otherwise, how is someone going to figure that out?
If the Rebbe always had to give every disclaimer for everything that could be misunderstood, every time he opened up his mouth, he would never say anything. He didn't. But what do you want from the guy? Every time a person is going to misunderstand the Rebbe's words, the Rebbe has to say, oh, by the way, I didn't mean this for you. He'll never get anything done. No, he didn't say it. Now, of course, that bothers you. You must understand the context. You can only teach one topic and Torah at a time. But because we bring our hearts to the class, I used to teach ladies in 770, and I used to make an announcement. Please deposit your heart at the door. Pick it up on the way out. If everybody would point out each time the Rebbe speaks what the Rebbe said that made them misunderstand what he said, he wouldn't have been able to speak. Should I say the third time, or you got my message? 73. Repeat the two stories that I told you that seem to speak to the idea of only learning a little bit of Chassidus. So I'll tell you the second story first. The second story happened with the Menachem Alter, who is now the previous Getter Rebbe. He passed away in 1995, I think, 1986. He met the Rebbe 26 times, and each visit was over an hour. He spent a lot of time with the Rebbe. He had respect to the Rebbe till here, mamish, moidendik. And he told somebody in private, and no one's supposed to know it, but when they had the WikiLeaks in the world, they had the Hasidic leaks, things were snuck out and put on the internet, we're not supposed to know. He told someone who was an acquaintance of his that only twice he disagreed with the Rebbe. He never talked back. When he spoke to our Rebbe, he wasn't about Chachosny, he was the Getter Rebbe's brother, but the derech he had for the Rebbe, he would never disagree with the Rebbe. Twice he disagreed. And one of the two times was when the Rebbe was speaking about learning a lot of Chassidus, and he explained it based on the idea of Tayameh Chayim Zoch, that before Mashiach comes, you're supposed to taste the Torah of Mashiach, right? There's a halacha that Erev Shabbos, you're supposed to taste the foods of Shabbos, right? But that halacha actually comes from the Kabbalah, that before Mashiach comes, you're supposed to taste the Torah of Mashiach, and this is why Erev Shabbos, you're supposed to eat the Macholi Shabbos. So he told the Rebbe, my father was a Rebbe. My father used to go in every Friday and taste Macholi Shabbos, but he tasted one drop of only one of the courses. He didn't eat a little bit from every course. Meaning he said, my father tasted a little taste. Why do you have to have so much? So the Rebbe was saying, you have to learn lots of Chassidus. And he told the Rebbe, my tata's given a tzaddik. My father was a tzaddik. And he would go into the kitchen on Friday and taste a drop of one of the foods, which means he was saying to the Rebbe, a little Chassidus is enough. And of course, the Rebbe disagreed with him. That's the first story. The second story happened a long time ago. That there was a chasaneh between the Chernobyl Rebbe's and the Lubavitcher Rebbe's, the Alter Rebbe and the Mittler Rebbe. And the Mittler Rebbe used to say Chassidus for hours. So the Matla Chernobyl Rebbe, Chernobyl's son, said to the Mittler Rebbe, "Eshtaytoch yikach nu ma'at moyim." It says in the pasuk, you're supposed to take a little bit of water. Right? Where's that story? Where's that pasuk written? We did this on Tuesday. By the Malachim came to Avram Avinu's house. Avram Avinu's house will take a little bit of water and will wash your feet. So he told, wash your feet. So he told the Mittler Rebbe, it says you should take a little bit of water. So the Mittler Rebbe answered right away, that's written by Malachim. People need a lot of water. Malach needs a little water. Which leads to question 74. Okay? But then the Rebbe changes his mind. What does he say that is different from the above? What does the Rebbe say that contradicts this idea that's written in the Rambam and is brought in this Maimed? Yes, doing the avoid of Yaakov Avinu means learning a little Chassidus, but to be a master, to study Chassidus day and night, only happens after you study Nigla. The Rebbe clearly contradicts himself. You want to tell me which words it is? One second, I'm sorry.
Can I go back a second?
At your own risk.
Yeah, I just don't get what was the answer to the Garrett took a drop.
The Rebbe didn't answer him. He doesn't tell the answer. He just, I only told you what I know. I don't know anymore. I don't know if the Rebbe answered it. He argued with the Rebbe, which he never did. They disagreed with Chabad. We learn Chassidus hours and hours a day.
I was thinking, do we have an answer to that?
Yeah.
What's the answer?
Question 74.
Okay.
Instead of going back, go forward. This is the answer. But the Rebbe changes his mind. What does he say that is different from the above? Huh?
The bit is good, a lot is better.
That's not what he says.
He says in the record you should not.
The answer is, if you're looking inside, it's 6 lines.
You don't understand.
6 lines up at the page it says, Limud Pnimius HaTorah B'Havana V'Hasoga. That's his answer. The Rebbe says if a little Chassidus is good, a lot of Chassidus is better. But there's a difference between what he said on the second line from the top of the page and what he says 6 lines from the top of the page. Because the second line from the top of the page, he uses the expression, you could look inside. It's okay for you to look inside and actually understand what I'm saying, because it's actually useful to come to class and gain rather than sit here and wait for the class to be over and pass the test. The second line from the top, the Rebbe's expression is, Hanocha Pshuta Shalamayla Me'avona. The little bit of Chassidus he said you learned before, you don't fully understand it, you just accept it. When the Rebbe says later, more is better than less, is for a different reason. It's 6 lines into the page because it's Alimud, the Pnimius, HaTorah, Ba'avona, V'Hasaga. Chassidus Chabad girls makes it possible for a regular person to really understand. And if you really understand, if you remember the class I gave you, then the Nista becomes Nigla. Why should you only learn a little? Because it's up here. So a little you need to have, but a lot's no good. But what happens if you can mamish understand it? If you could understand Chassidus the way you understand Gemara, there's no difference. So when the Rebbe said in the beginning of the page, what the Chernobyl Rebbe said, what the Geder Rebbe argued with the Rebbe about, learn only a little, it's based on the presumption that you're not fully understanding it. And that's what the Rambam said. Tipum and Ayam, Mar Midli, because you're not able, you don't understand it. But Chassidus Chabad made Pnimius HaTorah as logical as Nigla. You can mamish understand it. And therefore the Rebbe says this idea that you and I imitating Yankov Avinu means learning only a little bit falls away. You can learn lots of Chassidus because you can understand it so logically the way you understand the Sugya and Nigla Detayra. Go ahead, talk loud.
Can I ask a clarification question?
At your own risk.
When we're talking, we say that it becomes nigla, we're using like a Achei Temimim, correct? Like it doesn't actually become nigla because then there would be big differences.
Okay, the last words you muttered, repeat them.
If it actually would become nigla, then there would be a big difference between. We're saying the whole time there's a very big difference between Yisra and nigla. We're saying that when you learn Chassidus, so much you understand it becomes nigla to you. We're not actually meaning like nigla of like Kara and Gemara.
It has the mile of Nigla, God forgive me, and not the Chesaron of Nigla. It has the mile of Nigla that you fully understand it. It doesn't have the Chesaron of Nigla because you're learning about Alakus, so there's no Mitzvah, there's no Yeshus. Huh?
It's still shalom.
It's still Shalom, right. It's still Shalom, yes. A lot of people would argue with that, but yes.
It's real shalom.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Anybody else have anything to say? Question. Okay, 76. We already did this. Oh, 75. What are the two levels of this itself? Right? What are the two? There are two levels in itself. What are they? So, girls, if you're looking inside, it's 7 lines into the page. Number 1, be'oifen dechi yarchiv, and number 2, l'mayla mimedida v'agabali. You see it? The two levels of learning Chassidus at any limits. It's oifen of chi yarchiv, and a l'mayla in a way that's very, very broad, and a l'mayla mimedida v'agabali. Without any limitations whatsoever. Okay, you know what? I'm making a mistake. I think. Okay, I gave you too much information, okay? '75 and 76, we did already, okay? They're Pashat repetitious questions. The two levels, in 75, the two levels would be the second line for the top and the 6th line for the top. That means the first level would be Hanocha Pshuta Shalamayla Me'avana, and the second level would be Limud Pnimius Atera V'avana V'asaga, and 76 would be what suggested resolution that I provide for this dilemma is because when you fully understand it, then you can learn a lot of it. You understand what I just did? What I said answer to 74 is the answer to 74, 75, and 76. It's just stretched out, okay? Don't get nervous. Go ahead.
What's the purpose for why we aren't supposed to learn Chassidus that we don't understand? Like, why is it a problem?
Why should you not?
Yeah. Like, why does the Rebbe say you should only learn a little bit?
No, you should only learn a little bit. If you fully understand it, then you can learn a lot of it. If you don't fully understand it, because you become a drunken hippie. You become a meshuggah, which is quite popular. We use the word weirdo, but it's the same difference. When people want to be spiritual, either they're extremely, extremely great, or they're off the wall. There's no middle, and this is the reason. There's a Yiddish expression, "chapen malachim," trying to find angels. When you're involved in spirituality and you're not a keli for it, it makes you crazy. A little bit is very helpful. It lifts you. But if you indulge in it, a person drinks wine without eating food. He gets drunk. He gets sick. You follow?
It's like a sense of earning it?
Not a question of earning it. A question of living it, of being it. You live in this world, don't you? You don't understand what I'm saying? So you give me a hard time just to give me a hard time. Okay, I understand. I understand why also. That's your job. Go ahead, talk loud.
Practically speaking, learning Chassidus is not always like no way of understanding. So that means if you don't understand it, you shouldn't always learn, or you should make like.
You
or
should
what
learn
understanding
something else. You should learn something else. I'm going to tell you like a really, really bad thing, okay? Like a really bad thing. Now, I don't know how much time you have, but I don't think this is a girl-boy issue. I really don't. I think about 20% of our boys and 20% of our girls can really learn. And the other 80% are being tortured in school. What should be done about it is a different question. If you're of that 20%, whether teaching in school or not teaching in school, you should make for yourself a regime to learn. But learn what you can understand. So in the context of this little conversation, I would advise you not to learn the Rebbe's Muga Maimorim, learn the non-Muga Maimorim. I know that's a bad thing to say, but it happens to be good advice. And start from the beginning, from the first ones, because those you can understand, then you'll be able to develop over time. You learn one Maim, it'll collect, and you'll be able to understand. The Maimorim of the Rebbe and the Muga are extremely hard. To understand one correctly, you either have to spend months on it, or you got to be dishonest. Go ahead, talk loud.
Yeah, when we're talking about enough of Pshuta, we're talking like a little bit of learning. We're talking in a common sense or an incorrect sense. Because in a common sense, we're saying like you can't understand so much to stop at a certain point. Are we saying that if you only...
Were you here on Tuesday?
Yes.
Were you paying attention?
I think so.
What's your question?
If you're only learning it on a very basic sense of something in a simple fact, then does that count as learning a little bit of Chassidus already? Like you learn whatever you want in that very sense because you're only learning a little bit of Chassidus.
I really don't understand your question.
Like let's say you don't feel like you can understand the level of another Sabbath, but you know you're only supposed to learn a little bit. Does that
No,
mean-
if you don't understand the level of Saga, then you're supposed to learn a little bit. If you can understand that at a level of Saga, you can learn more. Now, here's the reality. Everybody can learn a level of Saga. But maybe it's not a Maimid, maybe it can be a Sikha. Maybe it's not the Sichas Chelik Lamed, it can be the Sichas Chelik Aleph. But I don't want to learn that because that's going to make me look like a simple person. I got to learn the stuff that I can't understand, so I should be Chassidish, you see? That's called stupid. Now, stupid's a bad word. And my children, Tati, don't say stupid, it's not good for your public image. But when I say stupid, everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? There is Chassidus that we could all understand. But be honest with yourself. And don't care what anybody thinks. It's okay to learn just Chelik, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, and Dal, Lekut HaSichos, and you won't be Chassidish. But you'll actually know what the Rebbe is talking about, and it'll actually change your life. And they'll be learning the Maimorim, you know. We'll look at Maimorim, they'll know it's flying, but they're very Chassidish. You know what I'm saying?
So what I'm asking is...
Oh, I didn't answer your question. Okay, let's go back.
Is there an idea of learning the very, very deep stuff that you can't understand on
No.
the level of enough Pshuta?
No.
No.
Not in Chabad.
Like, you're not supposed to even know that, like, should you know that the concept exists?
You know the concepts exist. And I gave you a list of them last time. Like Hashgacha Pratis, like Achas Hashem. You said you were there and you remember. Like Avas Yisrael. Just knowing the ideas is called Anocha Pshuta. You can't go through the Lubavitch system without being brainwashed. It's just impossible. In many other ways you can be messed up, but you got the messages.
Like, you're not supposed to say, okay, I'm going to learn, even though I won't understand it on the deepest level, I'm still going to learn it.
I don't know how to answer you better than I answered you already. I don't know which part of your question I didn't answer.
Is there a value to learning something, even though you know you won't understand it?
No, there isn't.
Understand it a little bit.
I don't know what that means.
What about with Nicola?
I'm not talking to you.
Like, sometimes you learn something and you don't understand it fully, but it's not like obviously.
So then learn a Chelik Aleph Sikha. I'm giving you an answer. You don't like it. I'm telling you what to do. You just don't like it. I'm sorry to break your heart. I do that for a living. Nobody is going to learn Nigla if they don't understand it. They're just not going to do it.
No, it's like if you learn, when you read, let's say...
I answered your question and you're re-asking it. But go ahead. I'm used to
I'm
this.
asking if, isn't it very different, Nigla Chassidus, in the sense that if you're reading Chumash, not necessarily...
Nigla is not Chumash. Nigla is Gemara.
Okay, so it's fine, so never mind.
Okay, how did I support that from a story that took place at Dr. Zellickson's wedding? It's a cool story. It's printed in Linktree Achei Temimim in Eisavas. That there were two German Rabbonim. There were two non-Lubavitcher Germanic Rabbonim at the Chasaneh. And the Rebbe spoke long sichos, which when Dr. Zelkson passed away, his sons, or the sons, Machon Zelkson, prepared the two sichos that the Rebbe said at his father's wedding, and the Rebbe edited them for the Sefer, and then they were printed in the Eisavas Linktree Achei in volume 30. And one of these two, they were Yekish Rabbonim, Germanic Rabbonim. I don't know what they call them nowadays. Upper West Side. I don't know what they call it. The Yekes. So one of them told the Rebbe, Ich lerne nur Nigle, ich lerne nicht Nister. I learn only Nigle, I don't learn Nister. So the Rebbe said to him, the only reason it's Nister is because you don't learn it. The reason it's Nister, it's secret, is because you don't learn it. If you would learn it, it would be Nigle. That's the difference between Chassidus and Kabbalah. Kabbalah, after you learn it, it's still Nister. Chassidus you could actually understand. And that's the resolution to this question of, a little bit on the level of Hanacha versus a lot on the level of Avana V'Asag.
How is Chassidus different than Kabbalah that it doesn't stay in
I need you to say that one more time.
How is Chassidus different than Kabbalah that it doesn't stay mystery? Like the ideas that it's based on are very often Kabbalah.
Yeah, but the explanations. You don't know what Chabad is. People who don't know Chassidus Chabad, who study Kabbalah, they're always guessing. Pasha Kipshute, guessing. The Alter Rebbe created a model, which our Rebbeim followed, that everything comes with a mashal that you can understand. And his favorite mashal to explain Kabbalah is, what's the pasuk? What's the pasuk? Mibisari echazer laka. A human being is a mashal for Atzilus. A human being is a mashal for Likus. My Modich Chassidus are 50% mashal, 50% mashal, and 50% nimshal. And the mishalim are from a person. And they make the ideas of Kabbalah understandable. Before Chassidus, it just does not exist. And you know what's so interesting about it was, the Alter Rebbe developed this sheet of Chabad before he met the Mesish Magid. Before the Alter Rebbe came to Chassidus, he was already teaching Kabbalah in the derech of philosophy. It was the Alter Rebbe's invention. And it's really special. This is my panos, it's my bread and butter, it's do for a living. I'm telling you, it's special. A person who studies Chassidus and looks in Kabbalah understands it because he has the Mishalim from the Maimorim. But a person who learns only Kabbalah, unless you have a special neshama, you're literally always guessing. It's real. It's not just propaganda. Maybe it's propaganda also, but it's also the truth. Shall we?
Can I ask a question?
At your own risk.
You're saying that started by the Alter Rebbe, but not with a Moshe necessarily?
Yeah, sure.
So what was his ceremony?
I'm going to answer you, but no questions. The Baal Shem Tov said Chassidus. The Mesish Magid said Chassidus in the language of Kabbalah, which is called Haskalah, Chochmah. The Alter Rebbe said Chassidus in the language of philosophy, Hakire, which is called Havana, Bina. And that's Chassidus Chabad. No questions. It's a Frierdiker Rebbe Sichas. I didn't make it up. I'm not that smart. Frierdiker Rebbe says this.
Where does he say?
I'm not telling you. I don't know. You look it up. Google it. Even if you put the right words in, you're probably going to get the wrong answer. It's in here. Questions or comments? Kindalach.
Are there certain Rabbeim that had more of the above understanding type of Chassidus style? More than others? Our Rebbe had.
In Chabad?
Yeah, I feel like the Frierdiker Rebbe, his Maimarim are a little bit more.
The Frierdiker's Maimarim are either very easy or very difficult. The Maimarim, the Frierdiker that are hard, are the hardest Chassidus from any Rebbe. So, picky choosy, the Rebbeim spoke to people. So depending on who they were talking to, the same Rebbe could say one day a Maimon which is extremely easy, and the next day say a Maimon which is extremely impossible. I don't know if you can label the Rebbeim that way. Go ahead. You have your hand raised?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not really a question, you don't really need an answer, it's just form of thought. But we're explaining this Isis of Maimon in a very specific way. When you go
Oh, excuse me, I disagree. I'm explaining the Ois Maimon as it's written. I'm sorry. Tell me how I am taking this Pedic out of its pshat. I'm not explaining. I'm explaining the Yos. I'm sorry. I object to differ. I'm not squeezing the Pedic into what makes me comfortable. I'm explaining the Pedic. I'm sorry. It's pshat. It is pshat. If you disagree, tell me why I'm wrong. I don't mind. I can be wrong. I'll even admit it on occasion. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm fully translating it correctly.
Okay.
That's why, that's why I said it's more of a thought, because I'm not fully confident in another way. But when it says it says through learning, Pnimis Hatera with understanding, and specifically in like an infinite way, higher than means of a Hagbala. Can I skip the parentheses?
Yes.
That will make the learning of Nigla be in a way that is higher than means of a Hagbala.
Right.
He doesn't, and also the beer and a little more. He doesn't I think it makes sense. The whole thing of the that we've been talking about of the Nister and the Nigla. Like it makes a lot of sense with this concept, but
Which concept? To learn a little or to learn a lot?
Like to learn a lot. Like that makes a lot of sense, a way to explain it. But I'm curious if there's maybe another way to explain it, because he says that through doing this you will understand that the nigla will be higher than means of a hakbala. He doesn't say that the nister will become nigla. Though that I think that makes sense too. But he says the nigla will be higher. So it kind of seems to be saying a little bit that why can we learn Chassidus in such a great way? Because that is the real way to understand nigla.
That's not what it says. It says that when you learn a lot of Chassidus, your nigla will be uplifted. But he said you should learn a lot of Chassidus. And a few lines before he said, learn a little Chassidus. So I'm resolving that question. But that's separate from what it says at the end of the Pedic. I'm not misinterpreting the words under the Pedic. I'm talking about another point. That on one page, the Rebbe starts the page by saying learn a little bit, and a few lines later says learn a lot. I'm resolving that question. What he says at the end is true regardless. It's true when you learn more, but it has nothing to do with the point we've been talking about the Nista becoming Nigla. It's not connected to the end of the Pedic. The end of the Pedic stands on its own merit. That when a person learns Chassidus, it changes his Nigla. It's a separate point. I'm not misinterpreting those words. It's a separate thing. I'm defending myself.
I think that makes more sense.
Okay. Okay, I have 10 minutes, yeah? I'm very nervous now. I have 9 minutes. Pedic Yud, people look inside. Vehine. Kuf Tzadik Vav. Hagam, even though there's this fact, when a person learns the face of Torah, which the Pnimis Torah means, the face of Torah, it enhances the nigla that they learn. And the way nigla corrects the world. So when you learn a lot of Chassidus, it informs your nigla, it enhances your nigla, and it enhances how nigla changes your world. Says the Rebbe, but there's a problem. Look at these words. It is a descent or a decline, a diminution of learning the face of Torah, as it is by itself. In other words, the Rebbe says, whether you're talking about learning a little Chassidus or you're talking about learning a lot of Chassidus. When you learn Chassidus, it changes your nigla. So the Rebbe says, but when you learn Chassidus and it changes your nigla, doesn't it diminish the Chassidus? When you're learning Chassidus as a means of enhancing, I'll put it to you in simple words. When you learn about peace, in order to enhance your war, it makes the peace less peaceable. If your involvement in Yankov Avinu's avodah is to inform your avodah that's different than Yankov Avinu, it makes it less. If I'm learning Pnimis HaTorah on a peaceful level, and it's separate from my life, that's peace. But if I use my learning Pnimius HaTorah, to enhance the nigla, which is where I am struggling, doesn't that make the Pnimius less? That's the Rebbe's question, okay? So the second line is, L'cha'oira inyan shayirida, learning Chassidus to enhance and to inform your nigla is a yirida. And by the way, young lady, what you're right about is that I should have written a question to represent the last few lines of the Pedic. You're right. In other words, the reason you're misunderstanding what I'm teaching the Pedic is because of my questions. I'm not speaking about how the nisted affects the nigla. That's what you're right. Point well taken. I should have had another question asking. So what happens to your nigla as a result of your learning Chassidus? And I'll do it today, Mitzvah. The question that the Rebbe is asking is that if a person learns Chassidus, a person engages in something peaceable to enhance his limud nigla, to enhance the struggle of life, it's l'chayra, second line, l'chayra inyan shayirida, that's a diminution, that's less, l'gabi alimud, the pnimius HaTorah, in comparison to somebody who's learning Chassidus, kameshahu mitzad atzmi, as it is by itself. That's his question. Shouldn't it be better that I should learn nigla? That's my war. I should learn Chassidus, that's my peace, and don't mix them. If I use my Chassidus to enhance my nigla, it makes my Chassidus less. So the Rebbe raises his favorite subject. What's the Rebbe's favorite subject? Okay, I'll give you one word. The kavana. What we're here for. Afapikain still. Keep reading. Kivan shashlei was there those words. Since the wholeness of making this world a home for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And again, the one word allusion to this is the word kavana. That the world by itself should become a receptacle, should become a keli for godliness. And inyan zehu dafka, in order to make this world a keli for Hashem, you can't just learn Chassidus, you must engage in struggling with the world. When you engage with the world by going into the world, or being a part of the world. Kanal Sivhei, as we learned before Pesach, which means it's a mandatory forget, right? That when you learn nigla, you're supposed to bring it on into the world. It's not just means you go into the world. Yesh loima. Says Rebbe, I want to tell you a chiddush. That when you bring down your peace Torah into your war Torah, your peaceable life into your struggle, because ayoda nasa yisra in belimad nigla, it adds an advantage in your learning nigla. And the way you correct the world through learning nigla, says the Rebbe, he the Chassidus mis alis lamayla yosed is raised up even higher mikmoisha hoysa mitad atzma than the Chassidus would have been by itself. When you use your pnimius, your Chassidus, to inform your nigla, and you're using your Chassidus to inform your nigla, on the surface there's a diminution in the Chassidus, but you're fulfilling your purpose. When you fulfill your purpose, you're adding something to the Chassidus which is even higher than the Chassidus itself.
So,
now I'm going to explain this to you in modern English, okay? And I so believe this. I'm older than you. When I was your age, I would not have believed this, but as I so believe this. You know, guys and girls go on shlichus. Their Chassidus isn't a maimed. Their Chassidus is a pair of tefillin. The Chassidus is meeting people who are not from in very, very unholy environments and bringing people closer to the Eibishter. You cannot find a better example of bringing Chassidus down. You're taking the level of Torah, which is peace, and you're going into the maximum war. So the Rebbe says, but that's the point. That's the kavanah. And if that's the point, it may not feel so holy, but it's holier than the Chassidus you learn in the Kodesh HaKadosh. That's the translation of these words into Deir HaShvi. That means if I learn Chassidus, I should keep it separate from the Nigla. I want it to be peaceful. If I use the Chassidus to inform my Nigla, I'm diminishing it. He says, yeah, you are. But don't you understand the point? The point is what? That you go out into the world and you make it a keli for the Eibishter. That's a big war. And when you use your Chassidus to help you accomplish that purpose, even though it feels like the Chassidus is less, even though it feels like the Chassidus is not so peaceful, and I'm going to use another expression, even though it feels like the Chassidus is not so pure and holy, there's nothing purer and holier than fulfilling the purpose for which an neshama comes into this world. That's what this. Every single Maimer of the Rebbe ends the same way. There's levels, till atzmos, and there's one thing that overrides everything: kavana. If you're doing what Hashem wants from you, there's nothing greater than that. That's the Peirik Yud. Primis HaTeira is very pure and very holy. We learn only a little bit, or if we understand it, we learn a lot of it. You use it to inform your nigla, but that seems to take away from the peaceability of it all. But Nefirta is the kavana. You fulfill the purpose. Questions or comments? Go ahead, talk loud and clear.
Why would using Chassidus to enhance nigla take down Chassidus?
You know, I'm a funny person. I don't mean funny ha-ha, I mean funny weird. We live in an age that even us, Chassidic Chabad, from people, are very, very steeped in psychology. We're so aware of ourselves and of our feelings. I think it's not necessarily healthy. In some cases, it's a necessity. And in some cases, I think it makes us smaller. But that's just me because I'm weird. But I hear from people, not children, men and women, that my goal in life is to be calm and rested and at peace with myself. Now, depending on the person, I either say phooey to their face or phooey when I turn my back. Really? That's the point of life, to be comfortable and peaceful? Or the point in life is to fight and live full minutes and days and hours to do what Eibishter wants. But we've gotten caught up in this. I want to feel calm and good and peaceful. It's real. Okay, I'm the crazy guy. Now the Rebbe never let anybody do that. He was pushing people and pushing people. A lot of people say the Rebbe created a lot of trauma because you never were good enough for him. The Rebbe loved us so much that we got the love in spite of the push. But he pushed. The Rebbe wasn't into that at all. But Baruch Hashem, you know, we can do whatever we want today. We can tell us what the Rebbe meant any way we wish to make it. Today, everybody, a lot of people are into this. I want to feel comfortable and peaceful. Now wait, give me a minute. Hello. If I stop now, I'm on applicatus. You got to give me a minute. So listen carefully, okay? So I don't buy that whole shtick. I think we all have to fight. Life is a war with ourselves. And you push yourself. Now I'm not saying you should walk around like a nervous wreck. But people are supposed to grow. And you don't grow by being busy making sure that you're never nervous. It's a shtus. It's an American disease. Me. Wait, I need a second. Yeah. But there is truth to it. And the truth is learning Chassidus. You don't only learn Chassidus, but when you learn Chassidus, you go into a peaceful place. Now, how is what Chassidus is saying different than what psychology is saying? Psychology is saying you slow down your whole life for this. Chassidus is saying you go away from your whole life for this. For a while. You see the difference? I need you to nod. Because I can't see. Yeah? I can't hear you. I need a nod that I can see without my glasses. You got the difference? So the shaila that the Rebbe is asking is, if I keep my Chassidus completely separate from my nigla, my Chassidus is really peaceable. But if I make Chassidus into Miftzayim, for example, it's not so peaceable anymore. It's not so holy and spiritual and, it ain't. And the Rebbe says it isn't. But that's how you fulfill your purpose. Did I answer your question?